Thanks to Derek Jeter. Tomorrow, we have Ron Darling today, but among our guests tomorrow will be A-Rod, Mike Krzyzewski, and should have Cashman and Boone both, as tomorrow's the carving day, which means the Yankees put out the spread for everybody and announce a new manager, as Aaron Boone will become the manager. Remember, Aaron Boone got hurt playing basketball, which led to A-Rod, as you remember. Jim in Purchase, what's up, Jim?
Hello?
Yeah, Jim, what's up?
Yeah, hey, Mike. Hey, you probably remember this game, but back in the 70s, remember the Giants were losing to the Redskins like 33-14, and Ron Johnson went off, and they came back and won the game. And when we came out of that game, everybody said we couldn't wait to read the paper the next day to hear about the game. But I think the amazing thing is you've changed that. You've changed everybody the way we followed sports, and everybody then said, I can't wait for 1 o'clock to hear what Mike's going to say about the game. So I just wanted to thank you for that.
Well, thank you. It's very nice.
We've all grown up with that, and you basically changed the way we watched and followed sports in New York, and that's an amazing accomplishment.
Well, thank you.
I just wanted to thank you for that.
I do thank you. You know, Mad Dog had a lot to do with it, so we did it for a long time together, so thank you for that, though. Joe in North Babylon. What's up, Joe?
Hey, Mike. I was wondering, with the NFL draft this year, I know you're a big Sam Darnold fan.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
Which
yes.
I am.
Yes.
I love him. I do. But Josh Rosen, he has that it factor. I was wondering if you felt the same.
I don't like him. A couple things I don't like.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, listen, I don't say he can't play. He can play. He's definitely going to be a high pick. What I don't like about him...
I know he's...
what I don't like about him is twofold.
Volatile.
Well, two things I don't like about him. His team doesn't win enough.
Okay.
And number two, his teammates can't stand him.
Yeah, that
and he's a rich kid. He's a rich kid. I mean, that's part of it. He's probably been spoiled a little bit, you know, and you know, listen, it doesn't matter. It matters how he acts more than anything else. And if he can lead, quarterbacks have to lead. Quarterbacks, it's part of their job. Not every player has to lead. Baseball players, they don't have to lead. Some of the greatest players of all time didn't lead. Manny Ramirez wouldn't lead anybody anywhere, but he still wrecked the game. Derek Jeter, on the other hand, is a leader. I mean, he's one of those guys, like a Messier. He's a leader. But quarterbacks, it's part of your job description to lead. You have to take charge of your unit. You have to. You have to be the leader on the club. It's part of the job. If you're going to do the job right, the quarterback is treated special. He's protected. He is, you know, his team looks at him that way, and they expect him to lead. It's just part of who you are. It's a job you have to do. And, you know, so how you deal with your teammates is important in football, because you want to be able to get your guys down the field at the end of games, because what it's going to come down to, what separates the good and the bad quarterbacks, is the guy who can make plays late in the games. Because the games you win 35-10, all right, you know, you're going to win those. The games you got to pull out in the fourth quarter, or you got to win the game when it's tied, or win the game from, 4 points behind. That's what makes the good ones. Ryan in Breezy Point. What's up, Ryan?
Hey, 2 points on the Yankee manager situation. If you'll let me go. It's been a rough couple of days with this Giant fiasco. But point one, this is the Yankee manager position. We're replacing the best manager in baseball record-wise over the last 10 years. Like, was Billy Crystal not available, Mike? The only big names in this search, Mike, were guys with no managerial experience.
What does that tell you? What does it tell you?
That leads me to my second point.
What does it tell you, though?
This manager is going to be a proxy for Brian Cashman.
Well, that's it. They want to run the team from the front office.
If that's going to be the case, then Cashman should face the music after every game in the press room. And when they get off to a 10-15 start by some slim chance, he should be facing the media and at the forefront of it.
Well, listen, what you're saying, you answered yourself, Ryan, in the beginning. They want to run the team. And this is not just them. Every team is doing this. All right, is it happening with Mike Scioscia or Buck Showalter? No. But it will with the guy who replaces them. It's happening everywhere. They want to do this. They want them to embrace the analytics. They want them to understand the concept. They want to use their computer graphs. They want to use their tendencies. They want to use all the stuff. And remember, Joe was a guy who was considered to be a binder guy. that Joe was too much by the book, that he was going to put up the guy who was 5 for 8 against that pitcher. That's what they called him, the binder. I mean, that was part of his thing. He was not going to go against the numbers. And he did play to the numbers, but there's numbers and then there's analytics. There's numbers and then there's numbers and tendencies and all different shadings and graphics. And that's where they're on now. That's what they believe in. And that's how they want the team run. Sully in Holtzville. What's up, Sully?
Hey, Mike. How are you?
Good. What's happening?
These shows are flying by, Mike. Listen, Jeter, you and I both grew up. Everybody wanted to be Mickey Mantle when we grew up. And you and I are the same age, probably the same age as Jeter's father. But I kept on telling a lot of people, my sons included, the past 15, 20 years, if I could change places, you know, and who I wanted to grow up to be when I was 45, to grow up to be Dr. Charles Jeter. Can you imagine waking up every morning for the past 25, 30 years knowing that your son has reflected the way you brought him up in such a way, never to bring disrespect, always to make you feel proud of the way he carried himself? He might not have been the most effusive guy or biggest personality, but the guy never took a misstep.
No, he never did. And we've seen 2 guys like that here. We've seen Eli do the same thing. I mean, and Eli didn't have to do it day to day. I mean, as much as Jeter did, because Jeter's in a sport where you play every day. But clearly, we've had 2 guys here in this town who have never, in their time here, and they both spent a tremendous amount of time here, and they both won here. And that's Eli Manning and Derek Jeter. And they have, neither one of them have ever taken a bad step. And Archie, who, you know, raised 2 quarterbacks and was a great quarterback in his own right, I mean, has done a great job with that. And, you know, Eli's been the same way. He's been an NFL Man of the Year. He is, you know, exceedingly a team guy, as was Jeter. And clearly, you know, Jeter's more of a leader than Eli was. No question. More of a fierce personality than Eli was. Absolutely. But, and Jeter, you know, listen, you never mistook that Jeter had a very high level of toughness underneath that professionalism. There was a steel there underneath that. It was very obvious it was there. And, you know, there's no question about that. But you're right. There were 2 guys here in this town. And, you know, Jeter was here. He broke in 96, broke in with a championship and never took a bad step and was here forever and left as an iconic figure. And, you know, and he has followed in the other path of these iconic figures, you know, whether it's Michael or Magic Johnson, and now he's going to, you know, be front and center with a franchise and co-owning a franchise, and, you know, that's what he wants. That's what these guys want to do now. These guys, you heard him say about, I brought it up on purpose because everyone asks about everybody managing, and I knew what his reaction was going to be to managing. I mean, he basically said, perish the thought. Guys like Jeter or A-Rod, guys who come up that way now and have those kind of careers and make that kind of money, they're not going to want to manage. They're going to want to own. That's the difference. And you're seeing that now and more and more. Magic Johnson has a piece of a team. Aaron Rodgers has a piece of a team. Tom Brady wants a piece of a team. Shaq has a piece of a team. You're seeing this more and more throughout the league. And you're going to see it more and more. Now Derek Jeter does. And that's what you're going to see these guys do, become part owners, because that's where the big money is. Martin in Guilford. What's up, Martin?
Hey, but about Darno, you know, he reminds me more of Terry Bradshaw, I think. Not the arm, but everything else.
Reminds me, you know, listen, you know, Terry was such a different player and such a different era. I'm not quick to compare people to Terry, but I think he was very unique in a lot of ways. But he reminds me, completely underrated. And also one of the great bad weather quarterbacks I ever saw. Huge hands, and was a great bad weather quarterback. Played like a dog.
And would make a mistake once a game. I think you're going to see the same thing.
Made a mistake, and also made some of the most beautiful throws you ever saw. But Darnold makes mistakes. I agree with you. Reminds me of Roethlisberger. Roethlisberger makes mistakes, and he also makes brilliant plays, and he stands in there and throws guys off. He's reminded me of Roethlisberger the whole time. We'll see how it works out. Hey, if he has Roethlisberger career, he'd be very, very happy. Roethlisberger's had a great career. Chris in Hicksville, what's up, Chris?
Hey, Mike. In terms of the Jets and the draft coming up just a little bit, I'm thinking they're going to probably be around 10 or so to pick. and they're going to at least have to get in the top 3 to get either Rosen or Darnold.
They won't be able to do that. They'll be too far back.
Even if they were to, let's say,
7 spots is too far. In the draft, you have to give up your whole draft to go 7 spots for the first pick.
Well, they have 2 twos. If they give up both twos, then next year's 1.
Won't get you there. No,
really?
You can't do that either. You can't bankrupt your whole draft, and they'd have to give up the whole thing. To go from 10, if you do the math, to go from 10 to 1 is astronomical. If you it gets unreasonable after from 4 to 1, you can do it. Anything past 4, it gets unreasonable in terms of the value. Just if you go to the draft value board and look at it,
right,
all the big numbers are in the first 10 picks. If you see how much you have to gap to each one, it's almost impossible to do.
What do you think of real quick? What do you think of the kid from Wyoming? Because that's around.
Very talented physically, but very raw. Very raw. I mean, might need a lot of time. Alan Paramus, what's up, Al?
Hey, Mike, Eli Manning, maybe you could explain something to me. I mean, we all agree that was a big mistake, the way the Giants handled it. Okay, and he got the overwhelming support from players of other teams, and fans. Okay, and usually when you change a quarterback, it can split the locker room, especially if you're talking about someone like of Eli's caliber. That didn't happen in this locker room. Do they like him in the locker room? I mean, and I'm saying this because when he was almost in tears in the locker room, you could hear the laughing and the joking around in the background.
They weren't paying attention. They definitely like him, but he's not a forceful guy. It's not his way. Plus, this team is a shattered team right now. You got a bunch of guys in there who have never won anything. You got a bunch of guys in there who haven't been here very long, and you got a bunch of replacements in there in the last couple of weeks because you got so many guys hurt. It's a different locker room right now, this late in the season. A lot of these guys are just trying to survive in the league. A lot of the guys playing on that offensive line or playing on that offense right now just want to be in the league next year. A lot of them. You had 4 or 5 guys starting for the Giants on Sunday who just hope to be in the league next year. That's different than players. Remember, Beckham's not there. Shepard was back this week. Ingram's a player. You're talking about a couple of guys on the offensive line. You had 2 or 3 replacements there. You've had replacements at wide receiver. You have replacements everywhere. Those guys are just trying to figure out a way to stay in the league. The life expectancy of NFL players is 2.8 years. 2.8 years. Staying in the league is hard. That's their motivation. Mike and Shelton, what's up, Mike?
Hey, Mike, how's it going?
What's happening?
I just have a question for you about this upcoming Giants-Cowboys game.
Yeah.
With McAdoo out and with Eli being back in and the outpouring of emotion, does this create some buzz around Giant Stadium? And as a Cowboys fan, am I walking into the perfect storm for a trap game to be upset? And
I don't think it's to that level where it's going to be like a groundswell. First of all, an enormous number of Giant fans had already sold their tickets in the last 2 weeks, so the building's going to be half Cowboy fans probably. Number 2, the Giants still have their issues where they don't have a lot of their players. So the Cowboys, who are going to be healthier, not completely healthy, but healthier than they've been in recent weeks. I gather healthier on the offensive line, too, have the upper hand. But doesn't mean they're going to automatically win the game. I think the game will probably be a tough game. I don't think it'll be an easy game for the Cowboys. But do I think they're walking into where, it'd be an absolute buzzsaw? I don't think it'll be to that level of that. Max and Long Branch, what's up, Max?
Hey, what's going on, Mike?
What's happening?
It's funny. Emotion can bring you so much, but talent, if you don't have it, it's a problem. That's why
eventually it comes down to talent, absolutely.
Yeah, it's the bottom line. It's funny. People aren't really mentioning it. I know there's the $5 million bonus that the Giants maybe won't want to place for Eli, and that's maybe why they'll let him go.
Right.
But if they do draft a guy like Darnell, which I hope they do get, playing that Kurt Warner type of guy and having Eli maybe start next year and have him as a job. I don't want to say it's God forbid throwing away a season, but groom a guy like Darnell, and especially now that they're cleaning house, and there's going to be a lot of new faces, to have a classy guy like Eli to be on the roster and show a quarterback the way, I think could be an idea that I wish more people spoke about.
See, but if I'm Eli, I'm going to play this smart. If I'm Eli, I am going to ask the Giants, if they draft, and I think they will, a quarterback at the top of the draft, are you going to try and play him next year? If they say, well, there'll be a point where we'll want to play him, then
will it be?
I'm not
very fair. I think Eli would be fair that if they said, you know what, if you're doing great, let it ride. But if we find something faulty,
well, that's not what happened.
Go.
Remember, they could have still made the playoffs with Kurt Warner, and they pulled him.
That's true.
And Kurt Warner handled it like a pro. He really did. And I had Kurt on the show the day, they were 5-3 when they made the change. I think it was 5-3, and then Warner played that game and lost and went 5-4. I think they announced it before the game, if I remember right, that week. But Warner handled it great, and then obviously went on to his Arizona fame. But the point is, I don't think Eli would want to come back under that scenario. I think he'd want to think that the team had a chance to win. If he thought it was a rebuilding year or one where they were going to bring that quarterback in, then I think he'd probably want to go to another team. Now, remember, they have a $5 million signing bonus that has to be paid to Eli on the third day of business, which will be sometime around the middle of March, March 10th, March 12th, whatever the first day of business is, the third day of business. So that's a $5 million signing bonus there. They have no guaranteed money, meaning that if Eli isn't on the roster, he doesn't get paid next year. If Eli isn't there next year, he does not get paid. So they don't have – now they're going to take a cap hit, but they have no guaranteed money left to Eli. It's all paragraph 5 and roster bonus money, which means if they cut Eli, he doesn't get